Hello, Astro friends. It's Melanie on the 25th of March 2026 with the Astro Weather for the week starting today and going until March 31st, which will be the eve of the first full moon in spring on April 1st in early mid Libra Aries. So we'll take a little preview on this full moon energy. And there's a lot going on already building up to it. Let's just get started with chronologically, like literally today, the sun passed Kronos, which is Saturn. Happens once a year, but this time very special because the sun now also initiated Saturn into Aries, starting a whole new zodiac cycle. Saturn entered Aries as we have explored here, and you probably have well experienced in the meantime. Saturn entered Aries on the 13th of February fully and will be in Aries in the next 2 years. So, but it's all, of course, all tied into the Saturn-Neptune conjunction of February 20th, which now the sun activated first via passing Neptune, which happened. When did that happen? On Sunday the 22nd, and now sort of sealed it off. This theme here of activation was sealed off by the sun passing Saturn this morning. So yeah, what's going on with all of this? The sun has now taken the lead. In the past, in the last few weeks, it was Saturn ahead of Neptune, and before that, before the conjunction on the 20th of February, it was Neptune. So Neptune has brought, first of all, a wave of renewal, but the renewal comes in many ways, right? It's just a neutral term. A new era has begun, and it became more obvious, more evident, more real with Saturn from the 20th of March on, of 20th of February on. Of course, shortly afterwards, 28th of February, we had the start of the Middle East war, and of course, the whole Middle East region has quite an Aries energy. There is a belligerent, there's definitely a warrior energy. There's also very early civilization energy, which is also Aries. And Neptune is also the element of faith and beliefs and religions. And Saturn shows how the confrontation, Aries, confrontation over beliefs or ideologies or whatever is the agenda, right, can have serious consequences and that we have to deal with. And it creates a new situation. So this is currently going on. And we are moving astrologically. We know what's going on in the world, right? So, and we are moving towards that Libra Aries full moon. There's a counterbalance coming in quite literally with Libra, and that will be April 1st. Then it's literally the dynamic between peace and war, right? So negotiation, finding agreeable solutions is very much the notion of Libra saying to Aries, right? So we need this counterbalance. We need to find a stability again after all this volatility, and that has to happen through coordination of interests, right? Just neutrally put. In the meantime, there is a lot of Aries going on, so this is the only factor in Libra that we'll have, but an important one with that full moon. And I should show you that chart already. So here we go, right? This is the chart of the full moon on April 1st. The moon in central Libra, the sun after having passed Saturn today and Neptune on the 22nd in a sort of mid-Aries, approaching Aries, E-R-I-S, and Chiron, which is a union. This is a really critical factor that not many astrologers, as far as I'm aware of, are emphasizing, but I do, because Chiron shows the wounds of war, as we have referred to many times, and Chiron has been in Aries since 2019. So also the whole COVID crisis, followed by the Ukraine war, followed by Gaza, followed now by Middle East, has very much the signature of Chiron in Aries, plus Aries, ERIS in Aries, which has been the case since 1927 and goes on until the 2040s. But what's really significant about Aries, which is an archetype of division, discord, throwing a wedge into a situation that actually seeds war, right? So we've seen a lot of that, and Chiron has now finally, actually just after the spring equinox, the day after, has passed Aries. That's big news because Chiron has been with Aries, back and forth behind Aries, dancing around or battling around rather, right? Since in the last 2 years, right? So there's this division and the notion for healing and the more wounds, and all of this is been quite this volatile situation. Now Chiron is leading freshly. It's pretty new, right? So it takes a bit to actually be more noticeable in its effects, but nevertheless, Chiron is ahead, and so this is really the need for healing of wounds of war through what is the medicine. Renewal is the medicine. Authenticity, agency, autonomy. All these factors play an important role for countries that are waging war or are affected by wars that they never really wanted. And yeah, so I leave it with that. And then what will be really significant on that note will be an activation of Chiron and Aries with the late Aries new moon on the 17th of April. So where is the chart? Because that new moon, here's a chart, that new moon, look at that one. Look at that alignment and these two clusters in Aries. Whoa, right? That's the 17th of April. And the new moon will be conjunct Chiron and by virtue of vice of that, also Aries, right? So it activates this whole theme. That'll be a super important new moon, not to be underestimated. At the same time, Mars and Mercury will activate Saturn and Neptune. So this is by nature, it's not a lot of tension in the chart. It's basically a concentration is happening here with that one. The only square that's happening will be Lilith with, wide square with the nodal axis, but mostly here with the ascendant on the west coast, but not really significant. This is like, wow, it's all really happening in this container here. So more renewal could also be more war, but we don't want to give energy to that by our own agitation and anger. So what can we feed into the energy field? That's also the question of Neptune in Aries, right? Rather than going into judgment, Saturn, right? Fear, dread, and more resistance really is the Saturn energy, right? Neptune says, okay, we need to dissolve, we need to transcend and transmute that energy, right? So this is our job, and we can also in our own lives see the effects. Again, Saturn, right? Saturn shows you the effects, one or another, when we can transcend, not bypass, but transcend and really open up where there's been lots of resistance and lots of, confrontation, fear, dread, all of this, right? Heavy, dense energy, that's Saturn, right? And so back to this week. As I said, today the sun passed Saturn, which is great. So, okay, we're literally having some sunshine kicking in as I'm talking. And sun is solar consciousness, spirit, life force of spring. Sun super strong in Aries, right? We're waiting for the spring sun. And while Saturn is not very well positioned in Aries, Saturn is much better positioned in Libra and in Capricorn, but not in Aries, because this is, we see more effects of war, confrontation, battling, egotism, all these bad parts of Aries really come out now, and or too premature action, right? And not well considered, not really strategic, which is Libra and Scorpio. Anyway, so the sun has now passed Saturn. That is great. And the sun will, Saturn, no, sorry. So the sun today goes into sextile, 2 signs apart, with Pluto in Aquarius, as you can see here, right? So here you have the sun. Actually, it's already ahead of that, right? This is the chart of the full moon. So the sun was today at about 4 degrees of Aries with Saturn. Now will sextile Pluto, and Saturn will sextile Pluto also on the 28th, on Saturday, Saturn day, right? And so what's with that alignment? This is actually an opportunity here, or I should rather say that things can come into flow and into connection, and that is actually very auspicious. What comes into connection, what is being linked in, is Pluto in Aquarius, which is the evolution of our human consciousness, right? So we are, with Pluto in Aquarius, humanity is becoming more empowered. And what does it take, and how does that show up in our own lives? How can we contribute to that? How can we join forces, right? So Pluto in Aquarius is a lot about solidarity too, but not solidarity out of reaction to authority or reaction to fear or something, but in an empowered way, right? So outgrowing the old empires, the old systems that really had their time and now are just lashing out and becoming self-destructive, basically. So humanity is coming together. What are we doing about it? How are we coming together with friends, with community, with like-minded people? And so this is the Pluto in Aquarius part. Empowerment also through freedom, right? So what would be a trajectory towards freedom here, and freedom for humans, right? Not, we're done with the elites, right? So elite energy, very Leo, and there will be also eclipses, right? There will be the summer, a total solar eclipse on August 12th, end of Leo. It's a release eclipse, so the shadow, typically also when a total solar eclipse happens, the formula is the resignation or death or end of an old king and empire, right? So that's been traditionally associated with that. And of course, it is also very symbolic for what's going on with elite class, right? And so what else is up this week? We're having, as I said, these alignments with Pluto now. And on Monday the 30th, Venus will come out of Aries and go into one of her domains, Taurus. Oh my gosh, we can all relax a bit here as Venus enters Taurus. Finally, she is taking the lead. You can see that in the full moon chart. Venus will be then freshly in Taurus, and the first of the fast-moving planets going into Taurus, while the Sun is still in Aries, Mars and Mercury are still in Pisces, but Venus is moving on, and this is about joy, and it's about really coming to our senses again in all regards, right? And enjoying life in spring, and so also a grounded energy. There has been no planet in an earth sign for quite a while. Only Uranus in Taurus, that doesn't help. And Venus will be the Earth, first planet going to an Earth sign again. Wonderful. Stability is the theme here, and for our love of Mother Earth and for all green and growing things, what do we ourselves do to create stability, joy, and love? And yeah, now a little bit about the decanates. We're currently still in the first decade of Aries, the first 10 degrees. That is the 20th to the 30th of March, and that has an extra Aries undertone. So it's all about freshness, new approaches, new life, new beginnings, and all of that. Be authentic, be you. Nobody can be you on a very personal level, right? And yeah, all is fresh and new. And maybe you've already done lots of, renewal action. I have for sure. And then from the 31st on until the 9th of April, where also the full moon will be, that's the central part of Aries, which has a Leo undertone. So it's about showing your colors, be vibrant. It's just like, again, like spring, right? Everything is very bright and bold and expressive, right? And yeah, so what's with the moon this week? The moon is now in Cancer since this morning. This is the beautiful alignment of the month. The moon in Cancer with Jupiter exalted in Cancer, a beautiful alignment which happens exactly. Let me look it up. Um, yeah, tonight. So rather tomorrow morning, 5:58 a.m. So if we have clear skies, we can see the waxing moon, the now half moon in Aries together with Jupiter. So a bright orangey a dot that you might see close to the moon, that's Jupiter. And this is all about the big welcome, the big homecoming, the big benevolence, it's a generosity, compassion energy. It's a goddess energy indeed. So yeah, let's invoke goddess energy for what's going on in the world with all the toxic masculinity, as I said to somebody recently. Yeah, why I'm saying toxic masculinity, of course, Middle East, right? And astrologically reflected in the fact that Mars in Pisces is in mutual reception with Neptune in Aries. They're in each other's sign. So and neither Mars likes Pisces much nor Neptune likes Aries much. Of course, it's just like when you're in a different environment, you are adapting to it and you're going with that energy, but you're not in your element, so to say, right? That's the metaphor. And but they are in each other's signs. So Mars would much rather be in Aries and Neptune much rather be in Pisces. So, but now they're house sitting for each other in a way. So that in combination, which is not on for much longer until April the 9th, when Mars leaves Aries for leaves Pisces for Aries, but then it will meet Neptune. We'll see what that's gonna pan out as. But that combination is really a very critical one and um, not a very good one, and it can create lots of chaos and war and yeah, the avalanche effects from that, and just lashing out. Media are inundated, are overwhelming us with news of wars and conflict and all of that. You get the idea, right? And then the masculine warrior energy is a very toxic, in fact, right? So, so instead, as an antidote, as I said, Jupiter Moon in Cancer, let's invoke goddess energy and also a mother goddess energy that is really caring for all humans, for all human families, for the children, and yeah, life, right? For life, a new life, and for safety and protection. This is Cancer, right? And the moon will enter. Oh, I forgot to mention tomorrow, the 26th, Venus, before she goes into Taurus on the 30th, tomorrow she will meet Chiron and Aries. So she is also now leading where there has been all these wounds of division, of war, of conflict, and so on. So Venus is fierce. Venus in Aries is a fierce love. So activating fierce love, passion, and yeah, for also starting with self-love, right? So what does self-love at this point call you to, right? Do you want to get drawn more into this vortex, what's going on? But in the meantime, you can do something beautiful for yourself, not to, distract or ignore what's going on, but actually generating positive, vibrant, and strong life force energy that is very loving. That's also Venus in Aries. Also great for spontaneous encounters. I had some of those lately, and that's really very joyful, right? It's not planned, it's like really in the moment, and you get together with somebody, and it's could be a short visit and meeting, but it can be very joyful. So, yeah, back to the moon. So I'm a little jumping back and forth like a ram today. I hope you don't mind. And it's very, spontaneous, one take. And so, what's with the moon? Moon with Jupiter tonight, tomorrow. The moon will enter will enter Leo on Friday, the 27th at 7:10 a.m. Pacific. I always go with Pacific. So the moon in Leo for Friday afternoon all day, Friday all day, and all day Saturday until um, Sunday 12:33 p.m. So then we have double fire. We have the moon in Leo and the sun and so much more in Aries. So that a beautiful expression of that Leo moon and Aries energy is like so much energy, so much passion again, and so much creativity, joy, playfulness, being with children, and being spontaneous and feeling very alive and in the moment, right? And not so good energy is like it can bring out too much selfish and narcissistic trends as well. So if you come across that, know where it comes from, right? And don't necessarily cater to that or feel upset about it. It's always about them. They always need that attention and be the center and drama king or queen and so on. Yeah, so not so great to keep giving that energy. It's really about heart, right, and love. Show the love. Maybe all these expressions are also a kind of a call for love, right? And yeah, so yeah. Anyway, the moon will enter Virgo on Sunday just after noon and be already very waxing, becoming gibbous and big on the 30th in Virgo uh, and entering Libra on the 31st in the evening. So this Astro week ends with the moon in Virgo going into Libra. So that whole energy brings in more reason, more practicality, more organization, more, yeah, actually the notion, the need to help and support others. However, the moon in Virgo will be also conjunct the South Node, which is in Virgo until August 19th. So it can also bring out the side of Virgo that we don't need so much anymore. We need to release more, which came up big time in the total lunar eclipse on March 3rd. And that, of course, has to do with maybe feeling small, feeling like, okay, I'm only so and so. What can I do? And that the problems are too big and I'm overwhelmed, right? But Virgo says, well, bring your house in order, bring your life, your lifestyle, your health, your wellness into alignment, and so that you can function better, and then you have a different energy. Or also start with energy, start with music, start with dance, start with doing something where you just immerse yourself, expose yourself to something that you really soak up, and it helps you for your own uh, mental and otherwise sanity, right? And it brings you back into flow. So don't get too wrapped up in issues and problems and things that are not working out with the moon in Virgo, with the South Node. Take it easy, says Pisces. Find ways of releasing it, maybe literally ceremony. And then, and then we have actually quite an earthy, grounded energy on Monday the 30th and Tuesday 31st, because Venus will enter Taurus, the moon will be in Virgo. That is a beautiful combination for actually, maybe literally being in nature, or also doing something in the garden, and grounding the energy in spring in small but really important ways and in loving ways. That's it for this Astro week. So you saw I've been jumping around a little bit. Hope you were, with me in that. And hope I see you again soon in real life, or see me here on this channel. If you like it, let us know, or give me any feedback. Always welcome. And share this video with friends who might be really affected by this, especially in Libra, ARIES axis, or people have lots of ARIES in their charts. And you can find, of course, more astrology in written format in the newsletter that comes out for the full moon, as for every new moon and full moon, for those who have subscribed. Or you can send me an email and add you to the list. And are also articles on the blog featuring these special astro shifts or events like the Venus entering Taurus or the full moon and such, right? And you can find me on Facebook, you can find me on Instagram. I link the links to those social media below here in the show notes. Have a beautiful week leading up to the first full moon in